Hello, everyone out there in the global and digital world. Hope all is well with you. And if not, please know that spirituality and spiritual practice is here to help you. So here is another video, the second one. I would just like to continue when we started the last time. So my previous video was about this notion of spiritual practitioner, what it means, what does it mean to be a spiritual practitioner in the context of modern day, etc. So I hope that helps. I got some good feedback and I'm happy about it. So today's video I would like to spend some time talking about the nature of the spiritual journey itself. It's important to have the right conception of it at the beginning. It's important to have the right conception of it throughout the journey, etc. And here is how the story goes. So, spiritual journey is a way of dissolving your separate self, your ego, into the ocean of primordial awareness, which I call true self. It's as simple as that. So it's dropping ego identification. It's a path of ego transcendence into the primordial oneness. It's as simple as that. But for the vast majority of us, actually for every one of us, the spiritual journey starts with ego identification, and ego identification carries through a large part of spiritual journey. So on the path, ego has some expectations, which are mostly mental, about what spiritual journey should be and what to expect. And oftentimes, ego is wrong with those expectations about what spiritual journey should be. One of the expectations, which can be tricky, is that once we are on the journey, or once we had some major openings and awakenings, everything is going to be fine in our lives. So ego, that's what ego expects. And ego is just a small part of ourself. There is ego, there is soul, there is true self, etc. So ego is just a small part of who we truly are, but that's where our identification starts. And has an expectations about journey which is way above its head, and some of those expectations are simply false. And one of the expectations is that once you're on the journey, once you had awakening, once you have major openings and spiritual experiences, you'll be just fine and you won't experience any problems in your life. And guess what? That's simply not true. So that's why I titled this video that spiritual journey is not a straight path. There are bumps on the road, there are curves on the road, there are snakes on the road, there are challenges on the road, etc. This is not to scare you. The vast majority of spiritual path is really nice and pleasurable. However, one needs to respond very wisely once the challenges are faced. And this is what this video is about. But the truth is, so on the spiritual journey, we are using teachings as practices, but we are using teachings as maps of what we can expect. So every teaching is a kind of map of the terrain you need to navigate as a spiritual practitioner. So there are good maps, there are average maps. There is no absolutely good map, because map is just map and it's always different than the terrain, but they can be extremely useful. When I was a practitioner, I used two maps that were extremely helpful but not complete. First one was Ken Wilber's Integral Theory. It really helped me tremendously. And second one was Sri Aurobindo's Integral Yoga. So I like those holistic integral spiritual teachings, and I like Wilber and Aurobindo because they're philosophers too. It resonated with me. So I used those maps, but those maps never anticipated the challenges and problems that I was facing on the path. So in that sense, it was a little bit incomplete. And somewhere later on my path, I discovered Joseph Campbell's teaching about hero's journey. So there's actually a structure to that hero's journey. And I discovered that fairly late on my path. I always had the book on my shelves. I just never fully devoted my attention to it. And at some point I kind of picked it up and it resonated with me so much. And I realized that I went through some of those stages and I wish that I had read that book before that, because it would help tremendously. So what Campbell discovered is that to every endeavor there is a kind of heroic structure. So let's say as you are growing up as a person, there's a hero's journey. If you're starting a company, there's a hero's journey. If you need to confront the illness, there's a hero's journey. If you need to leave your country or live somewhere else, there's a hero's journey. But hero's journey can be actually applied to a spiritual unfolding, spiritual journey too. And that's the beauty of it. And why I'm bringing this to this discussion today is hero's journey, some stages are definitely not comfortable. I think it's a very realistic explanation of what spiritual journey is and other journeys too. So there are 3 basic stages within that structure. Sometimes there are 6, sometimes there are even 12. But some of the stages, I'll just name some titles. The belly of the whale. I mean, imagine being in the belly of the whale. It's a mythic motive, but it doesn't matter. There is another stage, the road of trials. So I'm not going to go into all of that teaching right now. My point is just that it's very important on the spiritual journey to have realistic expectations and to be ready to face some challenges. So I will leave hero's journey now. So look at in the descriptions. I will post a link about the best book by Campbell where the hero journey is expressed. It's called The Hero with 1,000 Faces. But why Campbell was important for me, it explained to me what spiritual journey really is, and it gave me strength and tools to overcome some challenges. So why I'm bringing this all up is basically because of 2 major reasons. First reason is that it's extremely important on the path to have realistic expectations. And the second reason is that it's important on the path to be fully equipped all the time, from the get-go to the very end. So it's very important. As of the expectations, if we have egoic, unrealistic expectations, that can cause a lot of problems on the path. There may be some heavy emotional reactions to some challenges or trails. We may be very reactive rather than responsive. We may start sabotaging our own spiritual path, which is a major issue. And finally, we can give up the spiritual path. So that can be all the result of not having realistic expectations. So you don't want to sabotage your spiritual growth, and you don't want to give up your spiritual growth. If you have realistic expectations, if you know that from time to time there are challenges, and if you're mentally ready and if you're practically ready, it's a totally different story. As of being fully equipped, it's very important. I mean, I really appreciate this opportunity to be in touch with you via YouTube and videos and social media, but that's just the beginning. That's a very basic level of doing spirituality. If you want to be serious about spiritual growth and unfolding, it's important to work with a teacher or facilitator or a mentor. It's important to be a part of spiritual community or communities. It's important to utilize really multiple right teachings and stuff like that. So video and reading and doing practice on your own is just a beginning. So not only the teacher and Sangha spiritual community and teachings are support for you to grow, but they're also an incredible help in something challenging happens on the path. Sometimes on the path, it boils down to one single thing. Who you gonna call? Who you gonna call when you're having uncomfortable kundalini energy wiping out mind body? Who you gonna call if you're experiencing dark night of the soul and stuff like that? It boils down to that one call. You're not going to search videos, you're not going to read books and stuff like that. So what I mean by being fully equipped is that you basically have support, but you also have the self-help system if something happens. So if you have realistic expectations, and if on the journey you're fully equipped, you are set for success. That's for sure. That's for sure. I usually compare spiritual journey with being on a small boat, whether on your own, usually on your own, that's how you start, and sailing on the ocean and becoming one on the ocean. So if you're on your own, on a good day, it's everything perfect, is the ocean, you are relaxing into oneness and stuff like that. But when the storm hits the ocean and when the storm hits you, it's very uncomfortable to be on your own. So spiritual journey is like that. It's you enter this vastness, which is wonderful, but it can turn into, from time to time, negative experiences. And then the question is, are you on that boat alone, or are there others to help you on that boat, or are there other boats around, some bigger boats that are more equipped for the storm, etc. So my message is, don't be alone on the path. There are other people, there are qualified people to help you, and there are multiple teachings which are great practices and great help when help is needed. The thing is, if you're, let's say, dealing with the uncomfortable kundalini opening or whatever, and your body is shaking, and I actually experienced myself that, if you communicate that with your family, they have no idea what that means, because it's very unusual. If you communicate that with your partner, unless your partner is really advanced practitioner, they don't have a clue what's going on. If you go to a doctor, they don't know anything about kundalini awakenings or energy and stuff like that. So don't be on your own. If you are with qualified teacher and with qualified spiritual community, they can help you. It's the same, for instance, with Dark Night of the Soul. Not to scare you, but Dark Night of the Soul is a phenomenon when you glimpse transcendence, and then that access closes and you are left in this secular immanent world, and you don't know how to go back, and it's very uncomfortable. If you go to a doctor or to a psychologist or to a psychiatrist, they may diagnose you as depressed or whatever, but that's far from truth. You're just on a spiritual level, you're going through a dark night of the soul. So this is not to scare you. I can tell you, I've been on a spiritual journey 20, 30 years, depends on how you look at it. Those kind of severe challenges happen literally few times, maybe 3 or 4 times. I was always equipped and I had good expectations, so I clearly dealt with that successfully. But the rest of, other than that, the spiritual journey is something very comfortable, very pleasurable. So you don't need to be scared about it. But when something like this happens, it's very important to be responsive and equipped rather than reactive, because it can lead to sabotaging yourself, sabotaging the whole journey, and maybe quitting the spiritual journey, which is the worst thing that can happen to spiritual practitioners. And I've seen some of that too. I guess this is all for this video. I hope this helps. So if this helps, please consider liking the video and subscribing, because I'm definitely gearing towards the YouTube channel. So if you like and subscribe, you're supporting myself and my team to help you. It's a very decent exchange of energy. So Thanks for your attention. Next video is coming soon. I hope this helps. Let me know in the comments what you think and if you have any further questions. Thank you very much and sending good vibes to everyone. Bye bye.